welcome back to another feedback session. This time around we have a character from Pixelartcritique and he asked me to provide some feedback, so I'll do just that. I have to say immediately that the character looks amazing. Just to be completely clear about it, I do see some things that could be improved or changed a little bit, and this might influence your style, so take it with a grain of salt. I'll try to give my explanations on the decisions I make. So let's go ahead and jump into it. First of all, I'm going to create a color palette from this character. And let's check the colors. So give me just like, I'll speed this up, but I'm going to rearrange this color palette because a sprite is just like that. Okay, I think this should be okay for now. So the first step I'm going to do, and to be mindful of everything, is that this will be the final phase, so to speak. If you have presented me this character, I would say that it needs to go through one final phase, and that would be the final polish. And polishing the character before it's ready to be imported into a game is certainly, I would say, an important step. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick one of these colors, place it here on the canvas, and use a magic wand tool to check where exactly is this color being used, just so I have a bit more context. And if I find any colors that can be combined or removed just to optimize the color palette a bit more, I will let you know. So let me go over this a bit quickly. And I'm going to do this for every color on this character. Okay, it didn't take long. So first thing, this color, this bright yellow color, is being used as a highlight here and nowhere else. So having an extra color just for one extra pixel doesn't make much sense. So I will transform this into complete white color, and now we can remove this color from the color palette, and I know that we have one less color to work with. And let's keep on moving. Okay, this color looks a bit strange because you only use 4 pixels. So I would say that if you wanted to place shadow on this portion, you could have simply used this color, for example, like that. Or if you wanted a bit more rounded look for the nose, I would say place the shadow on these outer portions. So that's another color removed. Oh, before I forget, I have to place it down here. Okay, just to clean this up a little bit. Let's keep on going. Okay, I think these two colors can be combined. If I create a new layer, and on this layer I place, it can be completely black or white, but let's place black color, and I change the layer mode to be color, this means that I will remove all the color from this entire image. And this is good to check values of your colors. So if you look at these two colors here, you'll notice that even though the hue difference is a bit large, when we talk about values, it's not that high. So if I turn on this layer, look here on the color wheel, do you see the difference? It's very tiny. And since both of these colors belong to the red hue, or like orange, yellow, basically the warm hue, it's not that big of a difference. So I would say pick one of these two colors and use them for the character. So what I will do now is I will take one color out of these two and combine them by essentially replacing one color with another. So first I'm going to take this more desaturated tone and replace it with this color. And I noticed that it has quite a large effect on the legs. So I'm going to reverse the process, since this color is being used only as like places of shadows. So I would rather replace this color. It's not that big of a difference, but we've removed another color from our color palette. We've already removed 3 colors, and I'm going to quickly go over all of these now to see if there's anything else. These ones look just fine. Okay, here we have another color which only has 1 pixel. So we can just take this tone and remove it. Okay, now we are in the final step, and that's what I would say accent colors, which basically just means we are using it on very small, tiny portions of the character, and it's okay to have these colors on just few pixels. So, for example, if I take this color, you can see it's being used only like 8 pixels. Totally okay. Same goes for this one. It's being used on just specific portions of the character. Now, when it comes to the blood on this character, I would say that we can probably lose one color, since we have only one pixel here. On the eye, I would rather combine this with the second tone, and that would be this one. So I would rather either go like this, or if you wanted a bit more brighter look, I would just remove this tone and place a highlight like that. So essentially remove another color from it. And that would be all when it comes to the color palette. So what have we done here? We have removed 5 colors from the color palette. Now let's talk about more on the character itself. So again, this is just the final phase of polishing the character, so we have to be a bit nitpicky about everything basically. First thing I would say is that the canvas size is 52 by 52 pixels. I'm not sure if this is a restriction that you really had to implement, but let's say if you had to implement this restriction, I would say move this leg just a little bit to the left so you can finish this shape of the leg here. And if the case was that you didn't have this restriction, then I'm going to have to increase the canvas just a little bit. By a little bit, I mean a lot. And let's finish this shape here. I would say that the outlines aren't consistent. By that I mean you don't have specific rules for specific outlines basically. For example, look here on this ear. You have colored outline, totally fine. Then you have some black outlines here. Then you have shaded outlines on the same portion, basically on the same angle. Then you have no outlines here with highlights available. Then you have no outlines here in the shadow to emphasize the blood. Then you have no outlines here. Then you have shaded outlines with iterating colors to indicate this curvature here, so that it goes towards like the shadow portion. So the outlines are basically all over the place. I would rather that if you have placed some, I would say, restrictions on yourself or some rules on where exactly which type of outline you would use and in what tone. For example, if I have 4 sides, I would say that 2 sides can be in the brighter portion and 2 sides can be in the shadow portion. For example, if it's in the light, we can use these colors, and if it's in the shadow, we can use these lights. This is provided the light source is coming from the top right corner. And I'm going to go over this sprite just a little bit to show you what exactly I mean. So here in the front, you have these iterating outlines. Again, if you wanted to keep this to create this effect, totally fine. Otherwise, I'd say use one tone and stick with it for the outline. Again, if you wanted to create that curvature, that's totally fine. But let's go over this entire piece and see where exactly can we fill in the gaps. Again, here, this one should be in the shadow, let's say, so we can place it like that or that. That will be totally up to you. And here's one thing I've also noticed, and that would be the ears. So when you are placing something further away from us, we usually place it in the shadow, which you have done. For example, look at this ear in the front. It's a lot brighter, and this ear in the back is a lot darker. So if I turn on this, you'll notice that this ear is a bit brighter than the one in the back. So why not use the same thing for the outlines? Your outlines in the back use these 2 colors. So we have this gray tone and the purple tone. However, this ear in the front is using both of these, but more of this purple color and then even black. So the ear in the front, even though it is brighter, is using darker outlines. I would say that it should be the other way around. So if your ear in the back is in the shadow, that should be replicated on the outlines. So the outlines should be darker than on the ear in the front. So let's do just that. I'll place this purple tone on the right and the upper portions, and the left portions can be here in the shadow. So I'm not sure which type of ear shape you were trying to achieve, so I'm going to have to play around a little bit. And for the ear in the front, I'll be using this gray tone and purple for the shadow tone. Now this portion here is a bit tricky, so I will have to break those rules a little bit and place the purple tone here as well. Okay, now if you wanted a bit more rounded ears, you can certainly do so like that. I mean, I think you already have this, based on the entire character, I think you have enough skills to make these type of creative decisions by yourself. For example, here as well, if you look here on this portion, you place it in the light, so you could potentially place the purple tone here as well. So those are just the creative type of decisions that you would make. A second thing, same principle would apply on the legs. You have the black outline on the bottom of the feet for the leg in the front, but you don't have it for the one in the back. So let's place it. You can either place it here or here. That will be totally up to you, but I'll place it here like so. And while we're near the legs, I would say that you can remove the drop shadow, the cast shadow, roughly up to this point. And why am I doing it? So we can read the character a bit better. And if you really want, I mean, I think this is as far as you would go. Really not needed more than that. Let's look at the outlines. We have a gap here. I'm not sure about the purple color for the bottom portion, so I'm going to place it in the black. Again, stylistic preference. And since this drool from his mouth would be very important for the overall design, it's barely visible when you look here in the preview, so I would emphasize it by placing the outline on the drool itself. Not all the way here, not like that, but just on the outline portion. Okay, and the leg here could use maybe just a little bit of light. The shape of the horns could be different, perhaps like that. So if you wanted sharper horns, I would do it like that. If you wanted a bit more rounded, I would say you can go like this. But I think I like the sharper horns a little bit more. And again, since we have to use outlines differently, I would say we can use the black one here or the purple one, since you have two tones for the outlines. And again, not sure which color to use for the back, so I'm going to use the purple tone for the back portion, or rather this front leg, and on the head I'm going to use these two purple tones. So again, these are just decisions that I'm making because your outline style is all over the place and I'm not sure in which direction you would want to go. So that's essentially it. Again, I'm just placing these couple of pixels to keep this iterating shadowed outline for the head. I think we can place this like that. Here is something that I would want to emphasize. This shape and the shadows and the highlights and how you shade it implicates this type of shape. So we have this rounded portion, and I would love to see a bit more of that. So I would emphasize this shape like that, so it looks a bit more round, because without it, even though it looks rounded, you can emphasize it a bit more. So I would place it like that. I think these highlights would have to go a bit higher, maybe just by 1 or 2 pixels. This also creates a bit more space for these type of things. Again, since this is in the shadow, it should be black. I would say here as well we can remove it to emphasize the drool a bit more, so we remove those darker colors. Okay, so I think I did everything that I wanted to for now because of time restrictions. I have placed your character on 2 frames before and after, and I'm going to play these just so you can see the difference while I'm talking about the main takeaways. So I would say that your character again looks great, and just play around with the shapes a little bit more. That would be point one. For example, like horns, or emphasizing the shapes of your this like snail-like house for armor, like really creative, by the way. I would say that during the polish phase, check your color palette again and see if you can optimize it. And I would say the most important thing is recheck your outline style. And why is this most important tip? Because right now you have only one character. There's nothing wrong with it when it comes to the outlines. But what if you have 100 different characters for your game? You need to have some rules in place when you are making a game. If you have 100 different assets, 100 different characters, you want to make sure that the outline style stays consistent throughout the entire game. If you go in a game in a village and you see 10 characters with no outlines, then 5 of them have shaded outlines, 1 of them has black outlines, 3 of them have like iterating shadows outlines, and it's all over the place. And it would look that the game doesn't have a consistent style. It would look like you have copy pasted something in this world. So it's very important that your outline style matches all the other characters. Now, I'm not sure if this is a game character or not. In my opinion, it certainly could be. It's certainly of enough high quality, but I hope that you take these 3 tiny tips as something to improve upon. Okay, everyone, that will be all for today. I hope you have a nice time, and remember, just relax and have fun.